My boyfriend had sex with another woman. What should I do? For 8 years, Alex and I were inseparable, our lives woven together so seamlessly that it felt impossible to imagine one without the other. We met as freshmen in college, brought together by a random pairing in a group project. His easygoing nature and infectious laugh made him instantly likable, and we quickly became friends. By sophomore year, our friendship had blossomed into something more, and we started dating. Our relationship was the kind that others envied, filled with laughter, shared dreams, and a sense of partnership that felt unbreakable. We graduated, moved in together, got a dog named Max, and started building a future that seemed bright and full of promise. Life was good. We were both establishing our careers, he in marketing, and I in graphic design. We had our routines, our favorite restaurants, our Sunday morning rituals of coffee and newspapers sprawled out across the bed. It was a life we had built together, one where we could be our true selves. The trust we had in each other was implicit, unspoken, and as solid as a rock, or so I thought. A few months ago, I started noticing changes in Alex. At first, they were subtle, easily brushed off as stress from work or the natural ebb and flow of any long-term relationship. He seemed distracted, his phone always close by, his attention often elsewhere even when we were supposed to be spending quality time together. He started working late more frequently, claiming that new projects were demanding more of his time. His explanation seemed plausible, and I wanted to believe him. After all, -1 years of love and trust doesn't just vanish overnight. But then there were the times I'd walk into a room and he'd quickly lock his phone, or the moments when he'd step out to take a call, his voice hushed and tense. I tried to tell myself I was being paranoid, that after all these years, there was no reason to doubt him. Yet, a seed of unease had been planted, and it was growing, no matter how much I tried to ignore it. One night, my friend Emma and I were out for drinks, catching up on life as we often did. She mentioned something in passing that made my blood run cold. She'd seen Alex on Tinder. I laughed it off, insisting she must have been mistaken, but her words haunted me. What if she was right? What if Alex, the man I had trusted with my heart, was hiding something from me? The thought gnawed at me, turning my stomach into a knot of anxiety. When I got home that night, I confronted Alex. I tried to be casual, asking him if he had noticed any weird activity on his phone lately. He looked me in the eye and lied, said everything was fine, that I was worrying over nothing. I wanted to believe him, but his reassurance felt hollow, insincere. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with doubt and fear. What if he was cheating on me? The thought was unbearable, but I knew I had to find out the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The next morning, while Alex was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. With shaking hands and a heart pounding so loudly I was sure he could hear it from the bathroom, I unlocked his phone. The messages were right there, staring me in the face. He had been chatting with a woman on Bumble for a week. Their conversation was flirty, then explicit, and then heartbreaking. The latest messages detailed their plans to meet up the day before, a meeting that had clearly happened. My stomach churned as I read about their encounter, the graphic descriptions of what they had done together, and their plans to see each other again. I felt a rush of emotions: betrayal, anger, disbelief. How could he? How could the man who had shared my life, my dreams, my bed for 8 years, do this to me? I needed answers, and I needed them now. Without thinking, I messaged the woman from Alex's phone, introducing myself as his girlfriend. Her response came quickly, full of apologies and confusion. She had no idea about me, she said. She thought he was single, that their connection was real. She told me everything: how they had met on Bumble, their conversations, their plans to see each other again. Her honesty was a double-edged sword, providing clarity but cutting me deeply. When Alex got out of the shower, I confronted him, unable to keep the anger and hurt from spilling over. I held up his phone, showed him the messages, and demanded to know why he had betrayed me. He looked stunned, caught off guard, and for a moment, he said nothing. Then he started to cry, pleading with me, saying it was a mistake, that he loved me and had no intention of seeing her again. His words felt like a desperate attempt to salvage something that had already been broken beyond repair. I spent the next few days in a daze, my world shattered. The trust we had built over 8 years was gone, replaced by a void of doubt and betrayal. We were in the middle of buying a house, planning our future, and now all those dreams felt like cruel illusions. Every time I looked at Alex, all I could see was his betrayal, the lies he had told, the nights he had spent with someone else. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think. Friends and family reached out, offering support and sympathy, but their words felt like empty platitudes. How could they possibly understand the depth of my pain, the sense of loss that came with realizing the life I had known was a lie? Alex begged for forgiveness, swore he'd do anything to make things right. He proposed counseling, promised to delete his dating profiles, to cut off all contact with the other woman. But how could I believe him? How could I ever trust him again? The man who was supposed to be my partner, my confidant, had shattered my trust, and I wasn't sure it could ever be repaired. Every time he left the house, I wondered where he was going, who he was with. Every time his phone buzzed, I felt a pang of anxiety, wondering if it was her or someone else. One night, as I sat alone in our apartment, surrounded by the remnants of our life together, I realized I couldn't live like this. I couldn't spend my days questioning his every move, doubting his every word. The foundation of our relationship was built on trust, and without it, there was nothing left to hold us together. I knew I had to make a decision, one that would determine the course of my life. I took a deep breath and told Alex it was over. He was devastated, begged me to reconsider, but my mind was made up. I needed to reclaim my life, to find myself again outside of the relationship that had defined me for so long. Leaving wasn't easy. It meant saying goodbye to 8 years of memories, to a future I had once believed in. It meant facing the unknown, starting over from scratch. But it also meant giving myself the chance to heal, to find a love that was honest and true. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I leaned on friends and family, took up new hobbies, threw myself into work. There were days when the pain felt unbearable, when I wondered if I'd made the right choice, but slowly, the wounds began to heal. The cracks in my world started to mend. I realized that I was stronger than I'd ever known, capable of moving forward, of finding happiness on my own terms. Life has a way of surprising you, of leading you down paths you never expected. Finding out Alex cheated on me was one of the most painful experiences of my life, but it also taught me valuable lessons about love, trust, and my own resilience. I learned that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that lead to the most growth, that sometimes you have to let go of what's familiar to find something better. Alex and I went our separate ways, our once intertwined lives unraveling into separate paths. I heard through mutual friends that he was struggling, trying to come to terms with his mistakes. Part of me felt sympathy for him, for the pain he was going through. But I knew that staying would have only prolonged the inevitable. As I look back on those 8 years, I choose to remember the good times, the love we shared, even as I acknowledge the pain and betrayal. I'm grateful for the lessons learned, for the strength I found within myself, and as I step into a new chapter of my life, I do so with hope, with the belief that true love, built on trust and honesty, is still out there waiting for me. In the aftermath of our breakup, I threw myself into work, determined to carve out a space for myself that was entirely my own. I spent long hours at the office, taking on new projects, immersing myself in the world of design. My colleagues, unaware of the turmoil in my personal life, praised my dedication and creativity. It was a welcome distraction, a way to channel my energy into something productive, but no matter how busy I kept myself, there were moments when the pain would hit me out of nowhere, a song on the radio, a couple holding hands, a stray thought of what could have been. Max, our scruffy little dog, became my constant companion, his unconditional love a balm for my wounded heart. He seemed to sense my sadness, sticking close to me, his brown eyes full of concern. On days when getting out of bed felt impossible, it was his wagging tail and eager face that gave me the motivation to keep going. We took long walks through the park, the fresh air and exercise helping to clear my mind. Max had always been a part of our life together, but now he felt like a lifeline, A reminder that not everything in my world was falling apart. The apartment, once filled with laughter and love, now felt like a hollow shell. I couldn't bear to stay there, surrounded by memories of what we had lost. So, I started packing up my things, deciding to find a new place to live. It was a painful process. Sifting through the remnants of our life together, photos, mementos, the little souvenirs from our travels. Each item told a story, a chapter of a book that had come to an abrupt end. I cried a lot during those days, the tears coming in waves, a release of the grief that had been building inside me. I found a small studio apartment across town, a fresh start in a place that held no memories of Alex. It was a cozy space, with just enough room for me and Max. Moving in was both liberating and terrifying. I had always imagined that my first home purchase would be with Alex, a symbol of our commitment to each other. Now, I was starting over alone, carving out a space that was entirely my own. I filled it with new furniture, vibrant colors, and artwork that spoke to me. It was a reflection of who I was, a canvas on which I could paint a new future. Gradually, I began to build a new life for myself. I reconnected with old friends, made new ones, and embraced the freedom that came with being single. I took up painting again, something I had loved in college but had put aside as life got busier. It became a form of therapy, a way to express the emotions I couldn't put into words. I spent weekends exploring the city, visiting museums, attending concerts, finding joy in the little things that I had once taken for granted. Dating again was the last thing on my mind, but life has a way of surprising you. A few months after the breakup, I met someone through a mutual friend, a guy named Jake. He was kind, funny, and had a way of making me feel at ease. We started as friends, spending time together, enjoying each other's company. There was no pressure, no expectations, just a natural connection that felt comforting. For the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope, a possibility that maybe, just maybe, I could find love again. Our first date was simple, a picnic in the park with Max, who took an immediate liking to Jake. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing, the conversation flowing effortlessly. Jake was different from Alex, more grounded, more sincere. There was a gentleness about him that I found refreshing, a sense of honesty that was a balm to my wounded heart. As the sun set and the city lights began to twinkle, I realized that I was smiling, genuinely smiling, for the first time in what felt like forever. We took things slow, building a relationship based on mutual respect and understanding. Jake knew about my past, about the hurt and betrayal I had experienced, and he was patient, giving me the time and space I needed to heal. With him, I found a sense of security, a feeling that I could trust again. It wasn't an easy journey. There were moments of doubt, of fear, of wondering if I was ready to open my heart again. But with Jake, I felt a sense of hope, a belief that love, true and honest love, was still possible. Looking back on the past year, I see a journey marked by pain and growth, by loss and discovery. Finding out that Alex had cheated on me was one of the most devastating experiences of my life, but it also taught me valuable lessons about strength, resilience, and self-worth. I learned that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that lead to the most profound growth, that letting go of what's familiar can open the door to new possibilities. As I sit here in my new apartment, Max curled up beside me, I feel a sense of peace, of contentment. My life isn't what I had imagined it would be a year ago, but it's a life that I have built on my own terms. I have found strength in my independence, joy in new beginnings, and love in unexpected places. The future is still uncertain, still full of unknowns, but I face it with hope, with the belief that no matter what happens, I am capable of handling whatever life throws my way. The experience with Alex is now a part of my story, a chapter that has shaped who I am but does not define me. I am more than the betrayal, more than the heartbreak. I am a woman who has found her voice, her strength, and her sense of self, and as I look to the future, I do so with an open heart, ready for whatever comes next.